Aquarius is like a gaze standing at this threshold, belonging neither to the past nor entirely to the future. Like a stream of consciousness walking toward the unknown by dissolving the mind's habits. A rhythm standing alone in the crowd. A silence waiting not to break the rules, but to hear what has not yet been written. As the echoes of the past and the pulse of the future beat simultaneously, an inner question arises: to belong or to awaken? Because every awakening is a small rupture, every rupture a new map. And the camera does not teach this map, it only hints at it. Familiar answers melt away. Time ceases to be linear. Thoughts hang suspended in the air. For a moment, the world stops, and the viewer realizes that some consciousnesses do not find direction. They become direction. Aquarius breathes right here, quietly, unassumingly, yet with an irrevocable clarity. Aquarius consciousness is felt as a threshold before a sign, and vibrates on the edge of time. This threshold does not reject the habits of the past, but quietly dissolves them with the echo of the future. The human mind does not recognize itself here, because recognition is an action that has been left behind. In the Aquarius field, consciousness acts like an observing eye and creates distance from emotion. This distance is not cold, merely untouched, and rejects the illusion born of contact. Here, identity is not something possessed, but a constantly dispersing frequency. The timeline does not progress in a straight line. Moments overlap, and the future seeps into the past. While the listener believes they are following a story, they become aware of their own inner silence. This silence does not teach or explain. It simply stands there and waits. The door to Aquarian consciousness cannot be opened hastily, because haste still belongs to the old era. Here, questions do not seek answers. The questions themselves create a vibration. People do not understand why they feel different, because the effort to understand begins to dissolve. The mind standing at the threshold of Aquarius suspends the need to belong and sharpens its power of observation. This sharpness is not aggressive, only clear, and it cuts away excess. The future here is not a goal, but like a wind blowing from behind. This wind does not push or pull, it only disrupts the sense of direction. The listener unwittingly relaxes their sense of time. A moment later, the direction of the narrative loses its importance. Because Aquarius consciousness works not with direction, but with emptiness. Emptiness is not absence. It is a silent waiting area for possibilities. People think they are alone in this space, but loneliness here is not a defense. Loneliness is a form of hearing, purified of collective noise. Aquarian consciousness is not born in the crowd. It becomes visible by withdrawing from the crowd. This withdrawal is not an escape. It is a repositioning. The listener feels thoughts that are not their own dispersing within the narrative. This dispersal creates a sense of lightness, not loss. The lightened mind does not try to predict the future. The future is already here, vibrating within the present. The Aquarian consciousness does not put this into words, because words are a delayed tool. When this section ends, no clear conclusion remains, only an open space. And that space is the silent invitation of the next threshold. Aquarius's temporal archetype reveals itself by slowly dissolving the linear concept of time. Here, time does not progress, it layers, and consciousness navigates between these layers. accustomed to this, because the mind requires order. In the realm of Aquarius, order is disrupted. Causes are felt before effects. This feeling cannot be explained. It can only be perceived and then passes. The future here is not a distance, but a vibration within the present. This vibration creates small fractures in the listener's thoughts. These fractures do not cause pain, but quietly erode the sense of certainty. As certainty dissolves, observation deepens, and emotions are observed from a distance. This distance is not a form of protection, but rather a space for clarity of perception. The Aquarius archetype does not confront the individual with themselves, but rather distances them slightly. This distance allows the person to observe their own reactions as if they were a stranger. Observing becomes a more powerful action than intervening. Time does not speed up here, but it intensifies, and moments become heavier. These heavier moments test not the listener's patience, but their awareness. Because in the Aquarius field, patience is not a virtue, but a natural side effect. Thoughts of the future do not produce hope, but curiosity. This curiosity does not seek answers. It only opens up space. In this field, people do not question what they know about themselves. They silently suspend it. Suspended identities temporarily lose their weight. This lightness creates a feeling of freedom, but an indefinable freedom. Without definition, there can be no ownership. The temporal language of Aquarius consists of experiences that cannot be owned. These experiences leave traces, but no labels. The listener feels lost at some point in the narrative. This loss does not produce fear because there is no map to get lost on. The map of time has long since been erased. The future is not disconnected from the past. It simply refuses to remain tied to it. This refusal is not a rebellion, but a silent dissolution. The Aquarius archetype does not shout, persuade, or present evidence. It simply changes the vibration of the existing structure. When the vibration changes, meanings shift automatically. The listener perceives this not as a thought, but as a change of state. This state continues for a while, even after the narrative ends, because Aquarius time extends beyond the narrative. This section leaves no ending, only a small crack in the perception of time. And that crack is the silent beginning of the next door. The vessel is not a narrative technique, but a perception regulator. Here, words come together not to convey information, but to create space. The image forms within the mind, but is never completed. Each unfinished scene continues to move within the listener's consciousness. The Aquarius frequency constructs a structure that suspends the narrative rather than advancing it. This state of suspension is not uncomfortable because uncertainty is not considered a threat here. Uncertainty disables the mind's old defense mechanisms. When the listener tries to hold on to the narrative, it gently withdraws. This withdrawal is not a rejection, but a repositioning. The cinematic language here does not seek dramatic rises, because rising is still tied to the central idea. The bucket narrative is decentralized, its focus constantly shifting. This shift does not cause a loss of attention. On the contrary, it makes attention flexible. Flexible attention makes it possible to listen for a long time. The mind does not tire when it expects no outcome. The rhythm of the narrative does not beat like a pulse. It breathes in and out. Silences speak as eloquently as words. In these silences, the listener hears their own thoughts, but does not cling to them. Not clinging is not a discipline in Aquarian language. It is a natural consequence. Visual scenes in the mind are not clear, but hazy and open. The haze is not there to hide, but to dissolve excessive clarity. Excessive clarity feeds the need for control. The Aquarius narrative does not produce control. It renders the need for control invisible. At some point, the listener thinks they have stepped outside the narrative. Yet, it is precisely at that moment that the narrative has entered. This sense of reversal is the fundamental signature of Aquarius consciousness. The cinematic structure here does not tell a story. It leaves an echo in the consciousness. The echo outlives the words. As the chapter progresses, the listener's sense of time softens. How many minutes have passed loses its importance. Because Aquarius language works with intensity, not duration. As intensity increases, time expands. This expansion is not a relaxation, but an opening. The narrative does not end. It simply becomes invisible. And what is invisible continues to work in the background of the mind. This section does not teach the rules of cinematic language. It makes you feel those rules and then withdraws. The Aquarius field does not involve conscious guidance. Here, the mind is not persuaded, but slowly dissolves. Dissolution is not fragmentation, but the loosening of tight knots. When the human mind relinquishes control, perception deepens spontaneously. The Aquarius frequency does not force this depth, but merely recognizes the field. When the field opens, suppressed thoughts do not rise to the surface. Rather, they become silent. Silence here is not a void, but an organized inner space. The listener does not realize they feel safe because the feeling of safety is not specifically produced. Security emerges naturally when the perception of threat disappears. Intuitive narration does not override logic. It puts it in the back seat. Logic is still there, but it is not in the driver's seat. This shift creates a slight bewilderment in the mind. Surprise does not breed fear. It arouses curiosity. Curiosity here is not a hunger for knowledge, but a directionless interest. The Aquarius narrative feeds this interest, but does not satisfy it. Unsatisfied interest remains alive for a long time. Psychodynamically, the mind tends to return to unfinished patterns. This section leaves unfinished areas in the consciousness. These areas do not disturb, they call. The listener begins to hear their inner voice more clearly. This voice does not give direction, it only makes its presence felt. This is enough for Aquarian consciousness. Throughout the narrative, emotions do not intensify, they refine. Refined emotions become more permeable. This permeability does not produce empathy, it produces observation. Observation deepens as it becomes free of judgment. Deepened observation loosens identity. When identity loosens, the need for defense diminishes. When defense diminishes, the narrative penetrates deeper. This seepage goes unnoticed because it is not forceful. The intuitive structure here does not appeal to the subconscious. It expands the conscious field. The expanding field struggles to contain old thought patterns. They quietly dissolve. This dissolution does not create a sense of loss, because what is lost is already like a heavy burden. When the session ends, the listener cannot define a clear feeling. This uncertainty is not failure. On the contrary, it is a sign that Aquarius psychodynamics are at work. The narrative leaves an impression, but what that impression is cannot be understood immediately. And what is not understood is what remains in the consciousness the longest. It is not an attempt to create an image in the Aquarius field. Here, the image arises as an impression in the consciousness and dissipates without solidifying. Every image that does not solidify stretches the rigid patterns of the mind. The listener does not see what is being described, but senses that something is changing shape. This feeling is not clear, its edges are blurred. Here, uncertainty does not mean deficiency. On the contrary, it resolves the mental tension created by excessive clarity. The Aquarius frequency does not create clear scenes, but moments of transition. These moments are the state of the image before it is fully formed. The mind is more active in this interval, because looking at what is complete is passive. Observing what is incomplete requires alertness. Visual design does not force this alertness. It evokes it naturally. Light, color, and space are not clearly defined. Instead, a sense of direction is provided. This direction does not point to a target. It merely creates a sense of movement. A moving mind offers less resistance than a still one. In the story of the bucket, the image is not a scene, it is a vibration. The vibration is felt in the spaces between the words. The listener creates their own images in these spaces. These images do not belong to the narrative. They belong to the listener. That is why the narrative feels personal, but it is not personalized. Visual mind design is not a control tool here. Lack of control becomes an aesthetic choice. Aesthetics exist not to be beautiful, but to liberate. As this section progresses, the listener becomes aware of how their mind produces images. This awareness is not an analysis. It is merely a brief pause. In this pause, the narrative becomes invisible. Invisibility is not a flaw in the language of Aquarius, but a desired state. Because the invisible works in the background of the mind, when the episode ends, there is no clear image left in the mind. But the way images are produced has changed, and this change is the silent success of the narrative. The shift occurs not with a sudden break in the Aquarius frequency, but with a gradual drift. The mind loses its old references without realizing it. This loss does not cause panic, because what replaces it has not yet been named. What is unnamed is not considered a threat. In the Aquarius field, time ceases to be a measurable value. The sense of duration gives way to a sense of intensity. The listener knows that the narrative is not accelerating, but feels that time is stretching out. This contradiction does not preoccupy the mind. It relaxes it. The break in consciousness is not a shock here. It is more like the quiet abandonment of an old habit. The mind relinquishes the need to position every moment. With this relinquishment, attention deepens. Deepened attention becomes less reactive to external stimuli. Aquarian consciousness uses this lack of reaction not as numbness, but as openness. Openness allows the mind to make new connections. These connections are not logical. They create more of an intuitive sense of pattern. At some point, the listener no longer remembers when the story began. This forgetting is not confusion. It is the natural result of the dissolution of the timeline. As the distinction between past and future thins, the present expands. This expansion does not have to be comforting, but it is not restrictive either. This break in the perception of time reduces the listener's need to cling to the narrative. When clinging diminishes, the narrative descends deeper. This descent goes unnoticed because it is not dramatized. The Aquarius frequency does not like dramatic breaks. The break it prefers is one that has already happened by the time it is noticed. When the episode ends, the listener may want to look at the clock. But when he looks, the information he receives does not match what he feels. This inconsistency is the mark left on consciousness by the Age of Aquarius. In the Aquarius narrative, the arrangement of words comes before their meaning. Meaning is a secondary layer. The real effect lies in the arrangement of words and the silences between them. The rhythm is not distinct, but it is continuous. This continuity does not have to be regular like a heartbeat. It follows more the natural flow of breath. The listener does not notice this rhythm, but adapts to it. When adaptation occurs, resistance decreases. When resistance decreases, the senses do not become heightened, but balanced. Aquarius resonance does not produce excessive sensory stimulation. Excess consumes attention. This narrative aims to preserve attention. The frequency does not rise here, it balances. The balanced frequency begins to align with the listener's inner rhythm. This alignment does not create a sense of union. It is perceived more like a reduction in friction. Words do not create emotional outbursts. Instead, they leave a long-lasting vibration. This vibration continues even after the narrative ends. The listener can feel this rhythm even while engaged in something else, because resonance does not require conscious focus. In the field of the vessel, the sensory effect works unnoticed. Being invisible does not mean being ineffective. On the contrary, the invisible effect is more lasting. Rhythm changes are not sudden. They occur in small deviations. These deviations disrupt the mind's automatic expectations. When expectations are disrupted, attention is refreshed. This refreshment does not produce fatigue. Prolonged watching and listening become possible at this point. The Aquarius narrative does not raise energy, it keeps it stable. Stable energy is the foundation of continuity. When the section ends, the listener does not experience an emotional outburst, but they feel that the narrative is still ongoing. Because resonance is not tied to words. The vessel narrative is established not with curiosity, but with ease. Ease here does not mean comfort. It is felt more as the absence of perceived mental threat. The listener does not experience the fear of missing something from the narrative. Because there is no clear information to miss, this situation relaxes attention. Relaxed attention remains instead of breaking away. The Aquarius narrative does not hold the listener. It opens up space for the listener. When space is opened up, the mind progresses at its own pace. Since this pace is not imposed, no resistance is formed. Mental fatigue, the biggest obstacle to long-term listening, does not arise here. This is because the narrative does not constantly force the mind to make decisions. No signals are given about what to think or how to feel. This uncertainty is not exhausting. On the contrary, it reduces the burden of decision-making. The bucket frequency suspends the viewer's need for control without them noticing. When control is suspended, time feels more fluid. This flow is not drifting. The listener is still conscious, but not intrusive. Long viewing is the result of this passive-active balance. The mind is not occupied, but it is awake. This allows the narrative to continue seamlessly between episodes. Each episode does not remind us of the previous one, but it is consistent with it. This consistency does not create a conscious connection. Rather, it creates a feeling of a familiar atmosphere. When the atmosphere is familiar, the mind feels no need to escape. When the section ends, there is no compelling reason to stop. This makes the transition to the next section natural. Kova does not promise long viewing. It quietly makes it possible. The hook in the story works not with open questions, but with a sense of incompleteness. The hook here does not flash to attract attention. It quietly settles in a corner of the mind. This settling goes unnoticed, but it is effective. The listener does not pause to think at any point in the story. The need to think arises after the story is over. The hook activates in the consciousness with a delay. This delay allows the effect to deepen. The Aquarius hook arouses curiosity but does not provide direction. Because it is not directed, the mind generates its own questions. A self-generated question is more powerful than a question imposed from outside. At the neuro-intuitive level, this creates a sense of ownership. An owned question is not easily let go. Therefore, even when disconnected from the narrative, a part of it remains inside. The bucket narrative places the hook at a dramatic threshold. But this threshold does not scream. It is like a door that passes unnoticed. Only later do we realize we have passed through it. The mind wants to recall this moment. This desire to recall gives rise to the behavior of listening again or continuing. This process is not conscious persuasion. It is related to the brain's tendency to complete patterns. The bucket hook leaves the pattern incomplete. What is left incomplete does not bother us, but it wants to be completed. This desire is gentle and persistent. The narrative does not exploit this desire. It leaves it open. Every area left open continues to work in the viewer's mind. When the episode ends, there is no clear trigger question, but the feeling that something is not yet finished remains. This feeling is the invisible signature of the hook system. The gaps in the Aquarius narrative are not omissions. These elements function like the supporting pillars of the narrative. The pauses between words produce meaning as much as the words themselves. Breath here is less a physical necessity than a rhythmic regulator. Without realizing it, the listener aligns their own breath with the narrative's breath. This alignment is unconscious. It occurs like a physical harmony. When the silence lengthens, it does not cause discomfort, because silence is not a break, but another form of continuity. The Aquarius frequency speaks in the void. The void is not a space that needs to be filled. On the contrary, it is a volume that balances overflowing meanings. The listener does not think the story is ended during moments of silence. They simply sense that it has shifted to another plane. This transition is not dramatized, because dramatic emphasis consumes attention. The bucket narrative does not consume attention. it preserves it. Breath usage reveals itself in the length and flow of sentences. It is neither too fast nor too slow. This balance relaxes the mind's defense reflexes. With silence, words carry less weight. As the weight decreases, meaning intensifies. When the section ends, the listener notices the silence. But there is no lack in this silence. Only the echo of the narrative remains. And that echo stays inside, along with the breath.